Hey everybody, Bethesda has announced some big changes coming to Fallout 76 in the latest patch. This video will be going over all the patch notes, so stick around to find out about all the big changes coming. It starts with our latest patch for Fallout 76 provides fixes for many issues that were affecting perks, weapons, crafting, and more. Check out the full list below to see everything addressed in this update. Patch version. Download sizes for this update will be approximately 4 GB for consoles and around 500 MB for PC. For PC, the patch is currently live. It's version 1.0.4.13. For PS4 and Xbox, it will be available sometime next week. Reminder that PC will be receiving the update first, with console to follow next week. Patch notes will remain the same, pending any changes there may be. General updates. Power armor. The power armor light has been made brighter. I did notice this while playing, that the power armor light did seem a little dim, and it seemed more focused as compared to the Pip-Boy light, which seemed to spread out a little bit more, and it seemed brighter, that it would just light up the room a lot better. So it's nice to see that this has been changed. Performance. Several improvements have been made to in-game performance. Stability. The Fallout 76 game client and servers have received additional stability improvements. Balance. Charging Barrels mod. Increase the Gatling Laser's damage bonus from the Charging Barrels mod. Glowing Ones. Glowing Ones will no longer grant erroneous large amounts of XP. And we have a special note here from the developers. It says Glowing Ones were granting large boss XP rewards, making them highly exploitable when combined with nuke zones. I personally did not know about this. I wish I did. I definitely would have taken advantage of that while I was in the game. But now that it's back to normal, I'd like to see what the XP rewards actually are supposed to be. Crafting. Lowered chance of power generators of spawning fusion cores. Crafting. Set minimum component cost of workshop buildings requiring steel, wood, or plastic to 2. Bobby pins. Reduce the weight value of bobby pins from 0.1 to 0.001. Social. Teams. Players now receive a notification that players cannot form teams from within Vault 76 if an invite is sent to a friend still in Vault 76. Seems like this only applies to someone who's like just starting out at the very beginning of the game. Other than that, I don't think it really affects anybody else. Systems. PvP. Opening player-owned locked containers will now be considered a PvP action as expected. And I think this applies to if you come across someone else's camp and they have a door locked or their stash is locked. I think if you open it, then you'll treat that as though it's like an action against them. That's how I'm interpreting this. Bug fixes. Stability and performance. Xbox One performance. Blowing up the mainframe core stations will no longer cause a performance drop. PC. Infinite load. Fixed an infinite load screen that could occur when attempting to join a server on PC. Crash. Fixed a crash that could occur when opening the Pip-Boy. Performance. Improved client performance when viewing a nuke explode. I've definitely experienced issues with this in the past, where if you're standing kind of right outside the nuke zone as it comes like flying in, everything just slows down. You can just tell there's like a heavy load on the server. So it'd be nice to see if this change will make those sort of explosions and viewing experiences like a lot cleaner. Performance. Fix an issue when reading a note that would cause the background to freeze. Performance. Increase performance in areas with a lot of scorched statues. General. Systems. Fix an issue where items could be duplicated. There's been a lot of videos out there showing how these items can be duplicated. Some people are even selling them online. So yeah, looks like they've fixed that, and I mean, I'm sure new bugs will pop up in the future, which allow people to duplicate items. I wish they could stamp those out for an online game. It's not great to have items be duplicated. It just sort of takes the value out of the legendary items if just everyone has them. PC controls. Resetting controls to default no longer causes most active prompts to become unusable. PC controls. Fix an issue when controls in the settings menu aren't updated when disconnecting a gamepad controller. Systems. Fix an issue that allowed armor mods to reduce carry weight past intended values. Systems. Rads will no longer completely be removed when dying repeatedly. Systems. addressed an issue where players could load into geometry after fast travel. I certainly had this if you were fast traveling to a team member's camp. Sometimes it would just put you like in the wall or like the floors, or it was not like putting you on the ground or like where they were. It was just like putting you like in the game elements around your player. It's nice to see that they fixed that. Fixed an issue where bashing an enemy with the railway rifle or crossbow would add the projectile to the enemy's inventory. That's kind of a funny bug that if you hit someone with a weapon, suddenly they got a copy of it. That's pretty funny. Art and graphics. Animations. Lever action rifle not only reloads the correct number of ammo. Effects. Consume berry mentents now correctly show purple glowing auras around players and creatures. Camps, workshops, and crafting. Crafting. Level 25 armor and above now requires ballistic fiber to craft. Repairing. Component quantities required to repair mid to high level armor and weapons have been reduced up to 20%. Developer note, repair costs scale with level, and there's room to reduce costs at higher levels. That's an interesting note. I wonder what they consider higher levels and at what point would you start to see those effects. Crafting, ballistic fiber becomes required for armor at level 25 instead of previously at level 20. Crafting, updated bulk acid crafting recipe to require 15 acid. Crafting, fixed an issue that prevented players with the correctly equipped perk cards from being able to craft antibiotics and disease cure. Savage Divide. Crafting, hardened mass will no longer be scrapped when scrap all junk is selected. Repairing, overall repair costs have been lowered for both weapons and armor. That's great, because especially early on, if you don't have the perk cards that reduce the wear and tear of your weapons and armor, you have to repair them a lot, and some of the components, it's hard to build them up early on. I feel like later in the game when you have a huge stash, it's not a big deal, but early on, that repair is really difficult. Crafting, ballistic fiber also is now required for repairing armor at level 25 and above instead of previously at level 20. Workshops. Fixed issues where enemies at some workshop locations would spawn underground, making the workshops unclaimable. Locations include Charleston Landfill, Lakeside Cabins, and Sunshine Meadows. Workshops. Fixed an issue where objects in workshops would sometimes float in the air when the workshop menu was closed. Workshops. Destroying the hay feeder along with the fertilizer collector will no longer prevent them from being repaired. This is one that was on the list, but it looks like they've since changed it, but it originally read Camp Workshops. Placing power armor workbenches on foundation will no longer cause them to place on the ceiling floor above. I've definitely had this. If you had like a 2-story camp and you were going to set your power armor on the first floor, it would like jump up to the second floor, and there was just nothing you could really do about it. Regardless of where you placed it, it would always just pop itself back up to that other level. But it says here there's a note that there's a fix for this issue coming, but it was erroneously added to these notes. So it looks like they're going to fix that in the future, but it'll still be sort of affecting the buildings for now. Camps Workshops. Fix an issue that would cause a not supported error when attempting to place a tall or short post under a roof. Blueprints. Fix an issue with the cost of wires not being factored in when storing blueprints. Crafting. Fixed an issue where certain objects aren't able to be scrapped through the Stored tab. I definitely had this with like the water purifier. I'm sure it happened with other objects, but I noticed it really early in the game. If you played the beta, then rolled over into the game, there were some items that like you would build them, and then next time you would show up in your camp, they wouldn't be there, but then they would show up in your storage, and it seems like they finally found a fix because those items were taking up inventory for like your build capacity. So if you couldn't scrap them, then you couldn't build additional items. So it seems like they've fixed that, hopefully. Workshops. Fix an issue where certain stored items obtained from claiming a public workshop can't be placed again. Crafting. Fixed a visual issue with scrapping items in crafting menus. Crafting. Fixed an issue where mods cost less steel than what's displayed in crafting menus. Crafting. Fixed a display issue where incorrect number of junk items can appear in crafting menus. Challenges. Daily challenges. Fix several daily challenges that were not being offered on some days. Developer note, these include pick wildflowers, harvest multi-fruit plants, and harvest wild plants and fungi. Yeah, I rarely saw those events. I saw other events much more often, especially than the ones listed right here. Daily challenge fixed an issue that prevented some wildflowers from incrementing in the Pick Wildflowers daily challenge. Weekly challenge fixed an issue that caused the weekly challenge complete quests and events in a group while at night to work during the day and only recognize events. It will now look for quests and events that are completed at night. Weekly challenge edit the description of a weekly challenge to correctly reflect the direction. Sub challenge fixed an issue that prevented certain photo mode challenges from completing as expected. Sub challenge fixed an issue that prevented certain bobblehead challenges from completing as expected. Sub challenge fixed an issue that caused a challenge to be marked as completed incorrectly. Lifetime challenges fixed an issue where some lifetime challenges would revert progress after logging out. Enemies, robots. Fixed an issue that would cause robots to respawn too frequently in White Springs. Scorched. Fixed an issue where Wasteland Whisperer could affect Scorched. The developer note here is that the Wasteland Whisperer can no longer be used to pacify Scorched. Scorched. Shooting a Scorched in the leg will no longer break their weapon, causing them not to attack the player. Scorched. Fixed an issue where Scorched may be using invisible weapons or not appearing to fire their weapons correctly. And lastly, it says fix an issue that caused floating debris and disassembled guns to appear in Scorched hands when killed. Items. Weapons. Fix an issue that would sometimes cause plasma weapons, flamers, and flamer mods, and weapons with explosive bullet mods to not do damage to other players and creatures. Armor. Fix an issue that would cause players exiting power armor to sometimes appear stretched and unable to re-enter power armor. Armor. Address several issues that would prevent players from exiting power armor and at times cause the Pip-Boy to become unavailable. Weapons. Fix an issue that prevented the Gauss rifle from being identified as a rifle. Now rifle-related perks can be applied to the Gauss rifle. Ammo vending machines. Fixed an issue where some ammo vending machines were only selling repair components. Weapons. Legendary hunting rifles will now drop as loot. That's a great addition. I'm surprised they weren't dropping it already at all. But to have a whole type of gun, the legendaries now being added in, those would be interesting to look for. Weapons. Fixed an issue where the walking cane provided as many resources when scrapped as it costs to craft. Armor. Fixed an issue where some pocketed chest pieces were resetting players back to their base carry weight upon logging back into the game. Armor. Fixed an issue where players can leave behind an unusable chassis after exiting power armor. Magazine. Consuming Scout's Life 6 magazine now correctly depletes food and water stats at a slower rate. Weapons. M79 grenade launcher is now considered an explosive weapons and perks instead of being incorrectly considered a shotgun. Fusion cores. Fixed an issue where fusion core generators were producing cores at a slower rate than intended. They are now back to 8 cores an hour. This is great news, especially if you're constantly in power armor. Sometimes if you went to a building shortly after someone had been in there and they grabbed the fusion core, there wasn't one there. It was almost like you had to go into that building fresh. But now if they're changing it to 8 an hour, I mean, even if someone goes in there before you, you probably can still grab one. Magazine. Fix the Backwoodsman 2 magazine to appropriately boost tomahawk damage. Mirelurk eggs. Harvesting Mirelurk eggs will not result in 2 separate eggs. Weapons. Fix an issue where several combat rifle automatic receiver mods were prevented from receiving automatic rifle perk bonuses. Weapons. Fix an issue where multiple weapons were able to be equipped at the same time. Weapons. The vampire weapon mod effect now only works when hitting living targets as intended. Armor. Fix an issue where power armor parts would display on top of previously equipped parts. Weapons. Fix an issue where bashing an enemy with certain weapons would add the projectile to the enemy's inventory. Armor. Fusion cores were no longer replenished to full charge upon joining another world. Quests and events. Get the supply drop. Get the supply drop event will now remove holotape once used with supply crate belonging to the player that requested the supply drop. Quest. Daily missile silo quest rewards are now correctly obtainable only once per day. Line in the sand. Fixed an issue with the quest Line in the Sand where the sonic generator already being repaired prevented the player from completing the quest. The event will now progress to the next stage if the sonic generator is already repaired when the event begins. Recruitment Blues. Fixed an issue with the objective Find Junk Mail that prevented players who switched worlds from completing the quest. Second Helpings. The following location map markers are now available after finishing Second Helpings: Slocum Joe's, Gully Mine, Morgantown Train Yard, and Morgantown Airport. Perks All Night Long now decreases hunger and thirst growth at night. Overdrive. Fixed an issue where Overdrive was not increasing critical chance percentage properly. Quack Surgeon no longer allows for reviving hostile players. Strange in Numbers. Effects now scale properly with multiple teammates, with and without mutations. Refractor. Fix an error where each rank of Refractor is doubling energy resistance instead of adding plus 20 as indicated on the perk card description. Fireproof. Now reduces explosion and flame attack damage by 15% per rank. Happy Camper. Now functions correctly whether the player is inside or outside of their camp when the perk conditions are refreshed. Butcher's Bounty. Fixed an issue that allowed for the Butcher's Bounty perk to trigger again on an already searched creature. Homebody. Now works as intended when claimed at the public workshop. Party Boy Girl. Now affects active alcohol effects on the player. PvP. Teams. Team players can no longer unfairly block an attacking player when that player attempts to overtake a workshop. Your teammate will enter PvP with the attacking player. Turrets at workshops will now attack players the workshop owner is engaged with in PvP. Social. Systems. Blocking a player now also mutes their proximity chat. Trade. Fixed an issue where players could view another player's inventory before they can respond to a trade invite. Trade. We no longer let trades occur before the requested player has consented to trade. Trade. Fix an issue where the staff's transfer menu would appear empty after previously trading with another player. Trade. Stimpaks with the price value set to 0 will no longer prompt Use in the trade menu instead of Accept. Trade. Change caps limit for player-to-player trades from 5,000 to 25,000. And that's a really important one, especially if they're talking about future updates where they want players to be actually merchants of themselves instead of just having sort of like the robot traders that if you're going to be an individual trader, especially later in the game, people probably have a decent amount of cap saved up. You could get into some large purchases like that. Sound. Chat. Fix an issue where voice chat would not always function properly upon exiting the Atomic Shop. Atomic Shop. Fix an issue where some Atomic Shop content was missing sound effects. Atomic Shop. Waving Santa sound effect will now only play when in on state. User interface. General. Players no longer will receive a pop-up for the Atomic Shop when responding for the first time. PC. Resolution. Perk pack opening screen now extends to the edge on 21.9 monitors. Atomic Shop. Players in the Atomic Shop, when the Atomic Shop is taken offline, will now be notified and taken back to the main menu. PC. FOV. Fix an issue with scoped weapons zooming incorrectly when the default field of view setting has been changed. PvP. Fix an issue where the PvP prompt would appear repeatedly while the same players engaged in combat with each other. That wraps up the patch notes. As you can see, there are a lot of changes coming to Fallout 76. In the future, hopefully there will be new additions of content as well. I want to thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please hit subscribe to see more in the future. See you next time, and do what thou wilt.